Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to talk about the complete history of the Pokemon trading card game. This is one of my favorite series that I do on this channel, and it takes a long time to do these videos, and the early ones are very popular, the later ones less so. And they take a really long time to make, but a lot of people have been asking for the return of this series, so today we're going to talk about Steam Siege with a plea from your old pal Wassy. And that is, tell your friends, try and get other people watching this, because I love doing these videos, I really enjoy making them, but it's really hard to justify putting the time into them when they don't do quite as well, so I'm going to try it again, ladies and gentlemen, because I do enjoy making these videos, but seriously, they take a very long time to make. Alrighty then, so we got last time as far as Steam Siege, so let's have a chat about Steam Siege. It released in Japan on the 17th of June 2016, and we got it about a month and a half later on August the 3rd, 2016. And this was the penultimate X and Y expansion. There was one more afterwards, was a little bit weird, we'll get to that one, well, frankly, in exactly a week's time. But one of the really cool things about Steam Siege was that it introduced dual-type Pokemon. And there were a bunch of them, the most prominent of which was Volcanion. We're going to be talking a bunch about Volcanion in this video. But Volcanion is both a water and a fire type Pokemon. Any cards that interact with water or fire type work here. But it only had the one weakness to water, which yes, did make it a water Pokemon, weak to water, just don't worry about it. But there were a bunch of them. We had the grass darkness type Shiftry. We had the grass fire type Volcarona. We had ourselves the really annoying lightning grass type Galvantula. And maybe if you're not colorblind, you don't understand how annoying this is. But for us colorblind folks, this one was annoying. We had the darkness metal type Bisharp, which was a fun one. We had Mega Steelix, which was both metal and fighting. I pulled many of these. We had Azumarill, which was fairy and water. And this is probably the point where you go, oh, they're all shiny. Because don't get me wrong, some of you probably noticed it earlier, but the Azumarill really gives it away. All the dual type were actually shiny. And then there was Mega Gardevoir that was both psychic and fairy. Worth noting that even though the Mega was dual type like with Steelix, the regular EX was just fairy. Now, with it being a setback then, we did actually have a set of 4 pre-release promos, all of which came around with different artwork. And they featured Yanmega, which was a very good card, Chloritza, which was not a very good card, Volcanion, which was a very good card, and Hooper, which was not a very good card. 2 of them were, shall we say, significantly better than the others. Now, in terms of theme decks, there were, as you might expect at the time, a pair of theme decks, Gears of Fire and Ring of Lightning. Now, this was, as I'm sure you've guessed at this point, this was the Volcanion set. So we had a Volcanion theme deck, Gears of Fire, which did actually bring us a couple copies of Volcanion, which was awesome. Firstly, the cracked ice holofoil of Volcanion was exclusive, and secondly, Volcanion was just good. There was also an exclusive non-holo version of Klinklang, and then just a regular rare version of Pyroar as well. The Pyroar, unfortunately, was not a particularly good one, but it was a cool theme deck. Ring of Lightning was the Hooper theme deck. Hooper, frankly, not as cool as Volcanion, but still kind of relevant. Again, there was a cracked ice holofoil version of Hooper, which was exclusive to the deck. And again, there was a non-holo that was exclusive. This time we're talking about Ampharos. And then there was just a regular holo version of Galvantula as well. Make no mistake about it, the Volcanion theme deck was the better of them. And if you're wondering for collectors what the most expensive card in the set is, it was the Gold Gardevoir. I'll mention more in a minute. It's a $30 card. Steam Siege has not held its value in terms of expensive cards at all. It's about the only card that's really more than about $10. Steam Siege has not held its value. Now, in terms of Pokemon EX, we had 2 regular EXs and we had 2 Mega EXs. The first regular EX was Volcarona. We had the ability Steam Up, let you discard a fire energy from your hand, and your basic fire Pokemon did 30 more this turn. It was phenomenal. We'll get more on this in a minute, but it was absolutely ridiculous. The other one we got here was Magearna. It had a really nice ability, Mystic Heart, that prevented all effects of your opponent's attacks other than damage done to each of your Pokemon with any metal energy attached to them. And it was actually a very relevant part of the Mega Ordino deck that won the World Championships in 2016. So yeah, Magearna, pretty gosh darn good. In terms of the Megas, we had Mega Steelix. Mega Steelix was not good. I pulled loads of the Mega Steelix and the Steelix Full Art. I'll show you them in a second. But 160 for 5 energy plus 10 to each of your opponent's bench. This was not a good card. I wanted it to be. It was not. Mega Gardevoir, however, was. For 2 energy, you did 110 damage, and you got to discard as many bench Pokemon as you like, dealing 10 more for each bench Pokemon you discarded in this way. And there was a way to build up your bench quite nicely. Make no mistake about it, Mega Gardevoir was actually a legitimate deck. Mega Steelix, once again, was not. And we got a lot of Pokemon Break in this set. There were a bunch of them. We had Yanmega Break, which was honestly alright. Free energy, 100 damage, not affected by weakness, resistance, etc., which was alright. We had Talonflame Break, which saw a little bit of play, 2 energy, discard it to do 150. It was fine, but not amazing. Pyroar Break, that was not a good card. Chloritza Break, which was not a good card. For newer players, Pokemon Break basically went on top of regular Pokemon, so you kept all the attacks and abilities, but you gained 1 new attack or ability, and you got a HP bump as well. We got ourselves Yveltal Break, which did see a bit of play, 120 to the active, 30 to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon that already has damage. Mostly saw play because Yveltal itself was seeing play. Xerneas Break for 2 energy, did 20 damage for each energy attached to all of your Pokemon, and this one actually again did see a fair amount of play. This was a legitimate card. And then there was Hydreigon, which, no, sorry mate, Hydreigon was not particularly good. In terms of the full arts that we would get in the set, on Secret Rares generally, all the EXs got a full art. So we have Magearna and Volcanion as our non-Mega EXs, both got a full art. We had Gardevoir EX and Mega EX both getting a full art. And Steelix Regular and Mega both getting a full art. I have many of the Steelix. Yes, if I had to pull them that many times back then, you have to hear about it that many times. We also had full art versions of Pokemon Ranger and Pokemon Sycamore, which were very nice supporter cards. And then the real gems of the set were the Gold Volcanion and Gardevoir. Gardevoir featuring Yveltal on the artwork, Volcanion featuring Xerneas. We didn't get these for very many sets, but we had these artworks here that were just absolutely beyond phenomenal, all done, like tag teams years later, by Mitsuhiro Arita. But oh my word, they are stunning. They brought in other Pokemon just for the fun of it. These really were, from a collection standpoint, these were the jewels of the set. So what was actually good in this set? Well, it was alright. It wasn't a great set, but there were some cards very much worth mentioning. You see, we had Yanmega and Yanmega Break. And Yanmega had the ability Sonic Vision, whereby if you had exactly 4 cards in your hand, you ignored all energy in the attack cost of each of this Pokemon's attacks. So you could do Assault Boom, 50 damage, 70 more if your opponent's active had a tool on, for 0 energy, or the Barrier Break on the Break, because again, the Break still had the ability, for 0 energy. It was alright. Jesper Eriksson went and won World Championships in the Senior Division in 2016 with a deck that played these cards. And Jesper, alright dude, not that bad. Both Volcanion were absolutely great. Volcanion was the star of this set. We had the EX, like I said, you discarded energy from your hand to boost up damage by 30, and then free energy 130. Yes, Volcanion boosted itself. Yes, you could use multiple Volcanion in a turn. Then you had the regular Volcanion, did 20 damage, but again, it wasn't really 20. And it accelerated 2 energy, 1 to each of 2 bench Pokemon, or free energy 100. Later on, Volcanion EX would get new tricks, but even back in Steam Siege, just basically these 2 cards were good enough to make a very, very, very good deck. Bisharp was alright. It was a dual-type Pokemon, single energy, 90 damage if one of your Pokemon was knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack last turn, and it hit for 2 weaknesses, which was alright. Yveltal Break saw play in some Yveltal decks just because it was, fine. Magearna EX, like I mentioned, really good at stopping effects of attacks, integral part of the 2016 Masters World Champion deck. Cobalion was a really nice attacker because for 2 energy you did 30 plus 30 more for each prize card your opponent's taken. That added up very, very quickly. Mega Gardevoir was actually a legitimate deck because we had ways to build this up and that was lovely. Xerneas Break, because we had the Geomancy Xerneas which was reprinted in this set, as was the Yveltal, Geomancy accelerated energy. Get enough energy on the board, smash with Livestream, it was alright. And then we had Talonflame. Talonflame was awesome. You could put it down as your active Pokemon to begin the game. It was 130 HP, had free retreat, and for a single energy you did 40 and searched any 2 cards. There were plenty of decks at the time that would literally play 4 Talonflame, hoping to have one in your opening hand so you could start the game with it. It was genuinely legit. Moving on to trainer cards, Captivating Pokepuff. Let you look at your opponent's hand and bench all of their basics. Really good in control decks to clog up your opponent's bench. Give yourself some good gusting targets. Ninja Boy let you switch a basic Pokemon in play with a basic Pokemon in your deck. Really good for switching around and surprising your opponent. And Pokemon Ranger removed all effects of attacks on each player and his or her Pokemon, which led to more ruling questions than any card ever. It is still a meme in the community. Now, in terms of top decks, let's be clear, there was one really good deck that came from this set, and that was Volcanion. Later on, it would become way better with other basic fire Pokemon, but it actually did do fine just as it was. And we actually did see this version winning the Oceania International Championships in 2017, piloted by Pedro Eugenio Torres. It wasn't a later version with other big basic Pokemon, no. It was basically just these 2 and a whole bunch of support. Worth mentioning at the time that Max Elixir put in a lot of work to accelerate a whole bunch of energy. Trainer's Mail put in a whole bunch of work to try and make sure we could actually get all of these cards out efficiently. Fisherman and Energy Retrieval were very important cards to try and make sure that we could actually get the energy back. Fighting Fury Belt was a very nice card to give yourself a little bit of extra bulk. But make no mistake about it, this was a good deck. This was a real top deck in the format. Now, Mega Gardevoir was also a good deck, but I'm not going to pretend it was on the same level, because it wasn't. It was fine. But it was, Jack Old got 5th at Sheffield Regionals. Hi, Jack. It saw some top 64s at North American Internationals. It was alright. It wasn't the best deck in the format. But basically what you would do is you would play it with Shaman EX, with that ridiculous setup ability, letting you draw a bunch of cards, Hooper EX that let you search out a bunch of EXs, and Dragonite EX that would let you recover EXs from the discard pile, and basically the combination of those 3 cards would allow you to just continually make sure that you could fill up your bench over and over and over again. Obviously, Skyfield was huge. I'm assuming you figured that one out by now, but just in case you haven't, Skyfield, very big card, let you have 8 bench Pokemon, and then when your opponent got rid of the stadium, your EXs helped you fill it back up again, and off you went. And then we've got to give a bit of a shout out to Rainbow Road Xerneas. Now, this is a bit of an odd one, honestly, because the main attacker here, your Rainbow Road Xerneas, is your Rainbow Force Xerneas from Breakthrough, which wasn't in this set, it was in Breakthrough. But for free energy, you did 30 more damage for each different type of Pokemon on your bench, and basically your dual-colour Pokemon here, your dual-type Pokemon, they were amazing. Volcanion was fire and water. Bishop was darkness and steel. Each of them added 60 damage, and that made Xerneas way better. And then Xerneas Break gave you more HP and Lifestream if you needed it. It was fun. It was a good deck. So that's Steam Siege. Best set ever? No, not claiming it is. But Volcanion had a massive impact on the metagame. We got some very cool gold cards for our collection, and we almost finished out the X and Y block. And really, the last set we're going to look at was a bit of a special set. So there's an argument that this was the last true X and Y set. But there we go. I've told you about it now, so now it's over to you guys. Make sure you tell your friends. Make sure we can keep this series going. I love making them, but oh my word, they take a long time to make. Tell me what you think about Steam Siege. Tell me your memories or your thoughts in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.